Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on automating work for utility crews and contractors using mobile workforce management technologies. I'm Sharon Parker, Senior Marketing Manager for Clevest. Now I'm going to quickly review a few housekeeping items before we get started. If anyone's having any trouble hearing the audio, please send us a message through the chat feature. The phone lines have been muted to reduce background noise, but you can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And finally, you will receive an email with a recording of today's webinar. Our speaker today is Robert Dreskai, Director of Sales for Clevest. He has over 10 years' experience in B2B software, including 5 years in the utility industry. Prior to joining Clevest, Robert held positions with Mobile Workforce and AVLIAWL software companies, including Infowave and WebTech Wireless. The learning objectives for today's webinar are to understand how mobile workforce technology unifies the field and office, how integration with AVLIAWL provides a map view location of vehicles, work, and assets, and how mobile apps improve worker safety and response times. And with that, I will turn it over to Robert to get us started.
Thank you, Sharon. So we're going to cover roughly the agenda. In a high level here, we're going to focus on, as a first step, looking at a survey of on automating field operations. Then we're going to dive into the workforce technology for mobile applications in the field, and take a look at the benefits of mobile workforce management in the office. In addition to that, we're going to take a look at integrating vehicle tracking AVL, automated vehicle location, and automated worker location. Basically, location of crews, how that integrates and benefits it provides with the mobile workforce management. And we're going to bundle that all into a customer example as the last step. Of course, we're going to keep the floor open for any questions you might have. So to start with, there was a survey done, a recent survey by Penwell Power on the state of workforce automation for utilities. The results were quite interesting. We had a resounding 78% of respondents that haven't yet automated their operations. So quite a large number of utilities haven't taken the plunge yet. If we take a look at the reasons for delaying the implementation, they were twofold in the highest categories. So number one was lack of configuration or too difficult to configure. It is true for some of the older technologies; they're more static. But the new technologies allow you to actually tailor the workflow, the screens, the business rules, to fit the utility's business practice better, not just the generic terms, but also the very specific business cases that utility might do differently than a neighboring utility. But the highest one was actually the cost. So if we take a look at it, it's the highest reason for not implementing it, which we found it to be surprising, because if you do take a look into the summary, we basically have that 41% of the respondents think that automation technology is too expensive. But what is interesting is that 96 of those who actually have implemented it and are using it are achieving operational efficiencies, and 86% of them had significant cost reductions. Right? So if we take a look at combining that with benefits in worker safety as well as maintenance, you kind of start to see why automation is highly beneficial for a mobile workforce management project. Based on those numbers, you can start working a business case for it that justifies the overall spend, or at least squashes the myth of it being too expensive. So if we do take a look at a different survey, these are the results from the Aberdeen Field Service Report. you can see that a number of kind of top categories where we expect and see a significant drop in costs for a utility. Again, these figures can be used in building your return on investment case for your business case. So just to kind of step back a bit, why would we want to automate? The higher level theme is that automating the mobile strategy drives down the total cost of service, while processing work more efficiently, effectively, quickly, and accurately. We all know that manual processes are expensive, and utilities today are being pushed from regulators, their own customers and consumers and members, to doing more with less. And that's where these tools are helpful. So a couple of things that mobile workforce management technology actually does. It will unify the field and the office. Traditionally, because of paper and voice communication and not being physically present, they tend to be a separate groups of people not interacting as much. But through mobile, the communication is much more efficient and elegant, and they start to feel that they are basically a team. It also allows them to manage crews and any type of work that they can perform. So this starts with your day-to-day service work, your inspections, your damage assessments, smart meter deployments, and large AMI rollouts, as well as outage restoration work, and any other ones that can be configured, right? And the new tools allow you to extend this functionality to internal utility crews, of course, as you would expect, but also to the borrowed crews. In a number of different cases, maybe you have outside contractors helping out with vegetation management or outage restoration during kind of slower days, or maybe in extreme cases where you have the national mutual aid and you're getting help from statewide agencies as well as the neighboring utilities. So the bottom line is the tools can enable contractors as well as the internal workforce. So this is a high-level architecture diagram showing a typical setup in a utility. On the left-hand side, we see our back-end systems. These are traditional CIS or billing. That's where service orders live. You have your outage management system. That's where your outage tickets live. Of course, maps, whether they're in field or in the office, and the GIS system are all integrated with those systems as well. And then you will have additional systems such as work and asset management system, where the maintenance tickets and service orders reside, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we have is a case of disparate, multiple back-end systems creating work that needs to go to the field. And in a traditional case, we don't have the unity of having the centralized view for all that work in one place. This is what modern mobile workforce management systems provide, so that in the middle here, we would be able to have a dispatcher who can actually see all these tickets on the same map. So the main benefit there is that you can send, say, a crew to do an outage work in a northeast area. But if you don't have visibility, you might know that just around the block there's an inspection and a service order to be done. This allows you to do that and to actually be able to effectively assign work while they're in that area, not having to actually drive next day to the same area to work the ticket that they were just a block away from. Now, on top of those systems, we have outside systems creating work, such as the call before you dig or locate system, which statewide or 811 centers provide. And at the bottom here, you see what we call the field-initiated work. So this is where the crews in the field see something that's not working properly. They can fix it, maintain it, or they can do a damage assessment if that's what they're doing, providing work to the office or information to the office, or they can actually note of work needed, but it's for someone else. So, for example, I could be a serviceman out there in a case of electric utility looking at some trees leaning on the lines, and I don't have a chainsaw. I'm not a vegetation management crew, but I can actually take a picture, note of the location of the work that needs to be done, and send it off to a dispatcher to, assign a vegetation management crew before this thing becomes an issue. In case of locates and all these systems working together, the information is sent in real time. So what really helps get the real-time work assigned quickly and efficiently, and it goes into the right hands and improves a situation because it's handled properly. So an example of that is if I'm a customer, maybe I'm one of the lucky ones who can, is interested in building a pool in their backyard, and I call the locate company, call before you dig, and the ticket is routed in traditional channels. It's a fax or an email, and maybe it gets lost or doesn't get assigned on time. Well, what do I do from a customer? I'm anxious. I start digging and potentially create a safety situation, and of course, an inefficient, put myself at risk, and also utilities not responding efficiently. So in case of modern tools, this ticket is right away sent to the dispatcher. As soon as the dispatcher has it, he can dispatch it within a minute to the crews nearby. They can see on the map who's close and get that locate done the same day if we have availability of the workforce. So we can be much more efficient, but also a lot safer for our customers as well, right? In case of real-time information as well is important. Another example of utilities that we typically see is, say we're working on disconnects for non-pay, and say we dispatch a technician out to the field to do a disconnect for non-pay, and if a customer is like me, I'll be paying my bill last minute. And the technician could be right on my doorstep, and I'm calling in via the phone. I pay my bill, and so I've done what a customer should do. And if the utility doesn't notify, it doesn't have the right systems to notify the technician, will of course perform the cutoff. So what happens then? Now we have a loss or a lose-lose situation. We have a customer who just paid his bill. We had a truck roll, additional cost for the utility to disconnect the person. And now we have another truck roll to reconnect the person because they did actually pay their bill. So we have double the cost and an unhappy customer. Nobody wins. With modern mobile workforce management tools, once this happens, we can automatically send an update of a ticket, a cancel, and pull that order off of a technician's device, even if he's right on the doorstep, and actually prevent that additional truck rolls and prevent the customer for not being happy and disconnected. So these are some of the tools that allow you to, or some of the benefits that utilities can experience while going to that route. Now, of course, unified view is not just for the office. We provide the same thing to the technicians in the field. So on top of being able to work tickets on various form factors, from smartphones, tablets, and laptops, they can actually benefit from having everything in one place. For example, traditional mobile workforce management tools are just point solutions, extension of these systems. So you might have a billing company providing a service order solution in the field, but that's all it does is service orders. Your outage management system might be able to do the same. Same with your work and asset management system and maintenance tickets. But what's going to happen then is they're going to provide 7 different applications to the folks in the field, right? And so the field folks are going to have 7 different applications. They're not going to have an easy way to distinguish between priorities. They may not even run on all same devices. And they're not going to have a unified map of where everything is in one place, so they can do the smart route optimization and so on, right? Well, very quickly, that device is going to be put in the back of the vehicle, and they're going to flip back to paper. So modern tools allow you to do exactly that. They can have one platform to do all the work, nice one map for all the location of work, and with real-time integration to the back-end system, so therefore making it easy for the office to dispatch work, but also easy for the field to work the orders as well. So hopefully that covers a little bit about how this works. Now, specifically for the office, we can obviously dispatch work, but from multiple sources, but we can also schedule it and dispatch it automatically. So modern tools allow you, to take account different assets, work, and vehicles and resources out in the field, but also availability such as schedules in addition to skills, for examples, which orders can be worked. And they can provide recommendations, even plan out the whole schedules of work to be assigned automatically and electronically, but also allow for that tweaking and changing of that work assignment if for some reason it doesn't make sense. So you can have the tools actually save you time by automatically assigning work, but also give you flexibility to change it to fit your needs if something is off. Of course, also tools are provided with operational intelligence, where you can actually have dashboards and reports to help you improve that decision making for the future as well. In the field, for technicians and supervisors, different applications exist. So supervisor will typically have much more functionality. He's going to be able to assign work to his own crew, and for the technicians, they can of course receive orders on mobile devices, but they do have capability to improve their driving routes. So they can do route optimizations on the work that is assigned to them, so they can avoid driving more and working less. They can be more productive, getting to the work, and essentially having more wrench time, for lack of a better term. We know that we're dealing with the aging workforce in utilities, so you're going to have a mix of folks and crews in the field who are very experienced, to some of the folks who are just basically being trained up and starting to learn the territory and the best practices that your utility is standardizing on. So with the workflows and with these tools in the field, you can actually provide the best practices tool and leave the thinking to the devices and the workflow themselves, and ensure that the workflows are being properly. And so your best practices of how you want them to do a job and what safety standards to meet are actually guided by the tools that they have. Of course, whether they have a connection or not, they can do and complete all the work. Therefore, they don't have a need to flip back to paper, regardless of their internet connection. So their maps work in an offline mode, but also they're able to complete all the work in the offline mode. And the neat thing is that you can actually visualize everything in the same place. From assets, as you would expect, they can search and dispatch their poles, lines, or pipes and hydrants and so on. They can search for it and see it. They can actually complete the work, but also they can view nearby crews, as well as the nearby work as well. So why would they want to do that? Well, if in the case of electric utility, if I'm working on a line and I do need to make the line hot, I might want to take a look and see that there's no nearby crews on that same line for safety reasons, right? So that's another good example of working nearby, looking at nearby assets and work and crews is useful. In terms of looking at nearby work, well, sometimes I'll go through a number of tickets, or some of them might be quickly, or some of them might be unassigned to me or canceled by the customer. I might have more time. I can actually, instead of waiting on a dispatcher, I can actually look at nearby orders and then work the rest of it that are in the area that I have a skill to do, and actually do more with less without bugging the dispatcher. So those are some of the benefits that workforce in the field can provide. Now, if we do integrate the GPS locations of our crews into the maps, we do bring a number of different things to the table. The obvious one is efficiencies, right? If a dispatcher can see directly into the outage management system where the crews are, obviously they can actually assign the closest crew to the job at hand and just get there quicker, reducing turning the lights on quicker, basically, and reducing the drive time. right? Improving their KD and SAIDI metrics, right? On top of that, they can actually dispatch the contractors as well, especially in storm scenarios. You're able to get the contractors on that same system. Right now, you may not be wanting to install a modem in the contractor's vehicle, or may not be able to, but modern tools provide you with smartphones or applications on smartphones and tablets that could be quickly installed and quickly turned on, and you're actually able to get the contractors as well into the OMS or into the office maps, so that you can do the same thing with contractors and experience the same efficiencies. Of course, on top of that, safety is quite improved. So no matter what happens with the folks in the field, if there's an unfortunate incident, just knowing where they're at, we can dispatch our own crews, our own folks, and help from the office, or in unfortunate scenarios, 911, and get help on the way much quicker, much sooner, improving the safety for our fellow coworkers. So there's a couple of other different things that do improve the operations. So again, modern tools go beyond just a dot on the map. So they can tracking key vehicle information is important, but here's where it becomes practical. So for example, if I just glance on the map and see a dot there and a vehicle there, well, that's good enough. I know the location of the vehicle. But what if I have two vehicles that are close to an outage? Well, if the bucket is color coded in a different color, and I can see that visually without having to drill down, I can actually dispatch. I'm very likely to dispatch the person who's not in the bucket to an outage that just popped up. Of course, he's not in the bucket. He's available. He's just driving. He can be there quicker than the person who's actually in the bucket and just started to be in the bucket now. So he's going to be there for 20 minutes and so on. So you can get, even better at determining the closest vehicle for a job, right? But on top of that, you can, address customer complaints. So here's where, typically we see utilities. A lot of the folks are like me. We see a big white truck with a bucket. We assume it's the utility, and maybe something happens. They run over a fence or drive over my property, cause some damage, and unhappy customers call the utility and report that and want a quick resolution. So without these tools, you would resort to having to talk to drivers, who was in which area. You might have 100 trucks. That's going to take a lot of time, and it also provides for that opportunity of he said, she said, and a lot of unresolved issues, which tend to be costly and time-consuming, and don't actually end with the customer being satisfied unless it's a significant cost to the utility. So modern tools allow you to not just see a dot on the map, but actually go back in time and see the path where the customers have gone. But they also allow you to be much more efficient when doing that. So instead of running a historical breadcrumb on 100 vehicles one by one, they allow you to circle the area on the map and actually ask the system, have any vehicles gone through this area? Show me where they went. And now the system can actually respond within seconds, all at the same time while you're on the phone with a customer. So you can answer the question and address the issue while you have the customer on the phone. And sometimes it happens that it's your person, but very often it's, sorry, Mr. Customer, we were not in that area. No trucks have passed by. Call your local telco. Maybe it's one of their big white trucks. So you can actually improve efficiencies around that point. Another interesting thing is that you can actually drive driver behavior. So we know that we want to be fast, we want to be quick, we want to get to the work quickly and improve our KPIs, but also we want to be safe, right? So it's a bit of a balance. So a lot of the folks utilizing the modern technology are able to actually look at driver behavior, which is the detail collected from your vehicle tracking systems. So knowing that the hard stops, the speeding incidents, and stops and brakes and idling and so on, you can put a program around it. For example, you can give them all the best drivers with least amounts of incidents. You can give them a Starbucks card every month or some sort of a prize, and kind of drive the good driver behavior that way. So it doesn't have to be a punitive um, a stick, if you will. It can be a carrot to drive the right behavior, which tends to be a lot more positive um, reinforcement for the folks in the field. So specific customers examples, um, we can take a look at what happens in a typical technology setup before mobile workforce is implemented. Very often we're dealing with those big binders with paper GIS maps. We're dealing with folders and pads that have paper-based work orders. Um, Typically, we're on the phone or on the radio trying to dispatch tickets or get updates. And if we do have any systems, those are the point solutions that are not linked together, right? So they're separate and one-off. They don't talk to each other, and they don't typically automate all the work, right? So, in this typical scenario, this particular customer had um, electric OMS system, customer service tickets or service orders, and vehicle tracking, but it was not unified and put together. Other departments like gas did not have a system, so they relied on paper and voice for that communication. And internally, the system were very tabular and not very map-based, so difficult for dispatchers to actually be efficient. After the technology deployment, the solutions deployed were an electronic map-based system from Esri. They actually swapped out the billing system and implemented Oracle. And outage system that was implemented was GE PowerOn. But on top of that, they've added Mobile Workforce Management to actually unify those solutions into one, so provide one application for the field where they can do service orders out of Oracle, outage tickets out of GE, and of course all integrated with the maps with the GIS Esri system, all in one place. They ensured configuration is available for them, so they can tweak and configure the workflow and the business rules to tailor the solution to fit their business process. And they also benefited from automatically scheduling the work, so allowing the system to, they program the system with their own parameters, then allowing it to run the scheduling scenarios depending on their attributes and parameters, and then tweaking the proposed schedule as computer does it, proposes it, so that they can actually ensure that how they assign a dispatch work and plan work is fitting their business process. So what happened in summary is that we have a number of different benefits. We have a unified technology between the field and the office. We're working as a team together much more efficiently and much better. It allows them to manage any type of work that's performed, whether it comes from the billing system, work and asset management system, or the outage system. It's all manageable through the same system and allowing them to do that work. The specific example where this was an issue in the past with traditional tools is, for example, a serviceman would be servicing, a meter person, say, would be doing some meter work. And the ticket he got dispatched to when he gets there on site, it's actually not a ticket that the problem is not the meter work. It's actually more upstream. So maybe it's issue with a transformer, and he needs the electric troubleshooter to come in and do the work. Well, the traditional systems didn't have that availability to create a ticket right there on the spot. They had to resort to manual processes and now go back to paper and voice. In the new setup, they're able to just click that ticket and create a follow-on work for the troubleshooter, who is actually just a few blocks down, and troubleshooter can come down and fix the issue. And they're able to resolve it much more quicker and much more efficient, right? So that's a good example. On top of that, what they were able to do is consolidated tickets. So their traditional systems, just because they were the way they were configured, they had 6 different orders for one basically job. So it would fill up the technician's device with unnecessary work and duplicate work, and they had to work each and every one of them, only leaving one that actually had to be worked, to be complete electronically. They're able to consolidate many of them into one. So 6 tickets collapsed into one, much more easier for visibility in the office, much more easier for the folks in the field to do, and they're able to be much more efficient. A couple of other interesting examples is that they felt that on average they could do 16 orders per day, and the actual result is after the new technology was implemented, they can work faster, smarter, be much more efficient, and drive less. The result that they were over 24 orders a day was their average now. So same crews, same people, same folks in the office, but they're able to do much more work and therefore improving that customer satisfaction. Another interesting benefit is that they actually got information from the field much more quickly back to the office. So in a simple example of an outage, estimated time of restoration, or ETOR, is a very important field. We want to know back at the office, how quickly and when the power will be restored or the service will be restored. More importantly, the customer wants to know when the service will be restored, right? And so if we can actually communicate that to the customer effectively through a text message, or maybe when they're calling in through the IVR, and if I call in, if my power is out and I'm not notified and I call in, the system doesn't tell me anything, I'm concerned. I don't know, is it going to be on in 10 minutes or, am I going to be out for 2 days? There's different things I'm going to do depending on that answer. But if utility is proactive and through that ETOR, we're able to communicate that effectively, well, it's going to be back on, Mr. Customer, we know your power is out. It's going to be back on within 30 minutes. Well, I'm not going to panic much. I'm going to, just maybe have a quick little, grab a flashlight and hang out for half an hour, maybe read a book, and then I'll be back to normal, and I can continue watching my Netflix show or something like that. With these tools, you're actually able to do that, meaning that ETOR can electronically automatically be filled out by the technician easily on the application. You can communicate it to the OMS and through a text message if you do have that feature set up, or through the IVR if it's integrated, it can be communicated to the customer right away. So not only is it faster and much more efficient and we know what's going on, but we're actually going to reduce the number of calls to our IVR, the number of inquiries, and the anxiety of our customer base as well. And therefore, we're going to be taking better care of our customers too, right? So we're going to be able to improve a lot of how we care about our customer. Just the last benefit here in terms of interesting references. A last data point was that this utility had silos, and so they had mobile system for service orders, a different one from a different vendor for outage tickets, a third one for the map. It was paper-based map, and then a different system for AVL, and then gas department didn't have anything. So if you take a look, they were paying a maintenance stream and maintenance dollars to every single to 4 different vendors essentially. And that becomes costly and expensive. You add upgrades to that and other types of things, changes that are not flexible. It becomes very costly, right? So what they were able to do with the modern tools is actually to be able to go to one vendor and say, you know what, I want to pay maintenance to one person, one vendor, and I want that system to handle all my tickets, integrate to all my back-end systems, have a map that's all unified for the folks in the crew and easy to use, and I don't want it to be that expensive paying 4 different vendors. They're actually able to save millions a year because they're able to consolidate all those maintenance streams into one. And of course, it's less expensive because you pay a license for, one technician to one vendor, one for another group. And it tends to be, the vendors are competitive, tends to be roughly the same number. So this way you can consolidate it all into one and actually have substantial savings to a point where, within a couple of years, just from maintenance alone, the system pays for itself. So that's another interesting data point when building the business case for this technology. And last little bit, tell you a little bit about Clevest. We're focused on delivering innovative field solutions to basically enable utilities to be the best at what they are, being the best service providers, and they let us focus on technology, and we'll let them focus on what they do best. And it's a good marriage that way. So Clevest provide mobile workforce management and smart grid operations tools to help you do exactly that. And we're kind of specialists for utility field operations. The benefits are, of course, many that we covered so far, but improving response time, safety, and reliability are key, while automating the field activities and making it easy for the folks in the field. A little bit of highlight by the Clevest by the numbers. We've got over 180 utility customers across the world. Most of them are in North America, and you can tell that throughout that spectrum, we're taking care of 85 million meters and 7,000 mobile users and 700 dispatchers throughout the world. On top of it, we've actually integrated with a number of different back-end systems, over 200 integrations and interfaces to all the vendors that are working in the utility space. And that's the last bit that I want to leave you with, is that we focus on the utility space. Every line of code we write, every interaction we have with our customer base, it is for utilities, for folks like you. And I guess the last slide here is we're going to open up the floor for some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. That really was an excellent presentation. A lot of great information there. And we have had some questions come in for you. So first up, I don't think you touched on this yet, is the technology installed at the utility, or is it cloud-based?
Very good point. The traditional tools are very much kind of behind your firewall, which can be costly, especially for smaller utilities who don't have a complete IT department to take care of it. That's the traditional approach. The modern tools, the best vendors provide both. They provide options to be behind the server within the utilities infrastructure as one option, but also they provide a cloud-based or hosted option as well, where you can actually get going very quickly. The go live can be pretty quick, but also you don't have to headache of maintaining the server, or even buying the server or the third-party applications. You pay a one monthly or yearly fee, and all that is taken care of for you. Very good and very useful for smaller utilities, but also many larger ones that just have that approach to them. Right now, we're seeing an increase in the cloud-based and software as a service adoption for utilities.
Great, thank you. And here's another one for you. Will it work when the field tech is out of coverage or offline?
Absolutely. Very good question. Very, very common. Again, to contrast is with traditional tools, typically maps would not be based, not have the offline capability in traditional tools. The work orders, if it is a web-based application, again, older technology, it would not be there for the technician in the offline mode. The modern tools, of course, ensure everything is available in the offline mode. So not only can I do the work if I don't have a connection, I can complete all the orders, all while following the proper business rules and workflow, but also my map can be available offline as well. So that means that I can get to my next job, search for an asset, search for a service location, and do basically everything I need to do without worrying to have the internet connection. On top of it, I don't have to even click a button or do anything to sync up. The application automatically syncs up for me.
Well, that's great. I'm sure that will come in very handy. One more here for you, and you have touched on mobile devices too earlier, but one of the questions was what types of devices and operating systems can be used?
Very good question. So, very often, and again, maybe this is a good way to do it. Contrasting the old technology is it would typically be limited to a certain type of a device, right? So old applications won't even support smartphones. They won't be configurable. They might be laptop based or tablet based, and even if they are, it might be just one type. Maybe we just support Android and those types of things. Um, the new modern tools and the good vendors don't pigeonhole their customers into one device and one platform because we know they change quickly. The modern vendors allow you to run the same workflow, same order on a multitude of devices. So you can actually run it on a laptop. If maybe a construction crew needs a larger screen, don't do as many jobs, so they can do that. Maybe your service folks want a tablet because they can take it out of the vehicle and complete that ticket as well. And maybe your contractors actually want a smartphone because you may not buy devices for them, but they come with smartphones, and now they can be efficient and effective doing that. So again, the good vendors provide a same ticket to be able to work on all different device forms, from smartphones to tablet to laptops.
Great. And we've got one more here. Are we able to configure it ourselves, or would we need to come back to you to do the configuration?
Very good question. So I guess I'll stick with the theme of contractors using the old technologies. They don't tend to be very flexible. In fact, configuration is a bit of an issue. They don't even allow you to change and tweak fields and business rules and workflow. Or if they do, it's costly and time-consuming and done only by the staff at the utility, meaning that you have to pay them to do it, right? The modern tools provide easy and quick and simple configuration. It does need to be powerful, and it does allow you to change a lot of things in there, but they do provide both options. Pay the vendor for them to tweak the screens, or buy the tool, get some training so you know what you're doing and how you can tweak the screens and workflows and business rules, and then actually be able to do it yourself to build new tickets, tweak the things that the tickets you want, and provide additional changes to your crews in the field.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Well, that's all the time we have for questions, but please reach out to Robert if you have anything further you'd like to discuss. His email was just there on the previous slide. And again, you will be getting a recording of this after the event. You can also learn more about mobile workforce management on the Clevest website, and we've just included a few links here to help guide you to the various resources. So thank you again, Robert, and thank all of you for attending today's webinar. Have a great day.